A single seed, 60 days, 6 tons of living green. Sound impossible? For nearly a century, this plant sprinted from bare earth to towering jungles, trapping nitrogen from thin air and reviving dead fields faster than any chemical ever could. Imported by desperate government scientists during the Dust Bowl, it became a miracle crop, and then, without warning, was erased from memory. Why would the fastest fix for broken land be cast aside? The answer begins where almost nobody looks, with a rope trick from ancient India that quietly shaped the fate of American soil. In the villages of ancient India, a plant with slender stalks and yellow flowers became the backbone of daily life, not as food, but as fiber. Crotalaria juncea, known locally as sun hemp, was cultivated for its remarkable strength. Artisans stripped the stems, soaked them in water, and beat out fibers tougher than jute and more resistant to rot than cotton. These fibers twisted into rope that held up fishing nets, lashed together boats, and bound the harvest for centuries. In humid markets along the Ganges, traders prized sun hemp cordage for its ability to withstand water and sun, outlasting other natural fibers in the monsoon heat. Archaeological digs reveal fragments of ancient nets, mats, and coarse cloth woven from its threads, evidence of a crop that quietly shaped commerce and travel across the subcontinent. While cotton and jute spread through royal courts and textile mills, sun hemp stayed rooted in the work of fishermen, farmers, and builders, its value measured not in softness or color, but in sheer durability. Historical trade records from the colonial era list bales of sun hemp fiber shipped from Calcutta to distant ports, destined for rope walks in Britain and beyond. In the hands of rope makers, its fibers spun into lines that could haul cargo, anchor boats, and resist decay where other ropes snapped and rotted. For generations, the plant was grown, harvested, and processed without fanfare, the quiet nylon of its age. Its story was never one of food or fodder, but of resilience, of a material that let people tie together the fragments of their world and trust the knots would hold. In the early 1930s, as dust storms swept across the southern plains, USDA officials faced a landscape stripped bare. The topsoil, once anchored by prairie grasses, was now drifting in black clouds from Texas to Alabama. In the agency's Washington headquarters, researchers sifted through reports of failed crops and desperate farmers, searching for a plant that could rebuild the earth faster than the wind could steal it. Their answer arrived in a small brown envelope, seeds of Crotalaria juncea imported from India. The plant was already known in Asia for its tough fiber, but the USDA saw a different use. Circular 137, published in 1931 by R. McKee and C.R. Enlow, called it a new legume for the South, not for ropes, but for rescue. Within months, trial plots were carved out on exhausted fields in Texas and Alabama. The challenge was urgent: produce enough living cover to halt the dust, restore the soil, and do it in a single summer. Field notes from those early trials tell of stalks rising head-high in just 8 weeks, leaves thick enough to muffle footsteps. Observers recorded how the plant's roots drove deep into the powdery ground, binding it together while the canopy shaded out weeds and shielded the surface from the sun. In some plots, the difference was visible from the road: bare fields next to dense green stands that held the soil in place even as storms rolled through. The USDA's strategy was simple: grow sun hemp, cut it before it flowered, and plow the green mass back into the earth. Each cycle added organic matter, slowly rebuilding the fertility lost to years of over-farming. Extension agents wrote home about the excellent soil improvement and remarkable speed of the crop, urging farmers to try it as a living shield. In the archives, letters and trial results show a rare optimism for the time, a crop that could outpace disaster, one season at a time. The lessons from those emergency plantings shaped the next wave of soil science, setting the stage for a deeper understanding of how biology could heal broken land. Beneath the surface, sun hemp roots form swollen nodules, tiny chemical factories powered by a partnership with Rhizobia bacteria. Dr. Ray Weil, a leading soil scientist, explains how this alliance works. The plant's roots release signals that attract specific bacteria in the soil. Once inside the nodule, these microbes take nitrogen gas from the air, normally useless to plants, and transform it into ammonium, a form crops can actually use. In a single growing season, 1 acre of sun hemp can fix 100 to 120 pounds of nitrogen. That is the equivalent of a full spreader load of synthetic fertilizer, worth $150 or more at today's market prices, produced with nothing but sunlight, water, and a seed. Under a microscope, the nodules are pink inside, a sign of active nitrogen production. This process does not just feed the sun hemp, it leaves a generous residue behind for whatever is planted next. For farmers, that means fewer fertilizer bills and a way to rebuild soil fertility without relying on chemical inputs. The real power of sun hemp is not just in how fast it grows, but in how it transforms the invisible gases swirling above every field into wealth locked in the soil. After World War II, the farm supply chain changed almost overnight. Synthetic nitrogen, once reserved for explosives, began pouring out of new ammonia plants across the Midwest. The Haber-Bosch process, perfected in Germany decades earlier, was now running at industrial scale in the United States. By the early 1950s, fertilizer factories in the United States were churning out millions of tons of ammonium nitrate every year. Prices dropped so low that a bag of nitrogen cost less than a tank of tractor fuel. Extension agents and university bulletins began to echo a new message. Why fuss with green manure crops when you could just buy fertilizer by the sack? The pitch was simple. Skip the hassle of growing, mowing, and waiting. Just spread the granules and watch your corn shoot up. By 1960, synthetic fertilizer use in the United States had climbed from less than 1 million tons to over 7 million tons annually. The old practice of growing your own fertility with legumes was quietly dismissed as old-fashioned. Sun hemp, once a hero of soil restoration, vanished from research plots and teaching guides. Its name faded from extension pamphlets, replaced by tables of fertilizer rates and chemical recommendations. The name alone was enough to cause trouble. Sun hemp, a legume not a cannabis plant, found itself on the wrong side of American language and law. In the eyes of botanists, Crotalaria juncea was a cousin to beans and peas. But in the era of the war on drugs, the word hemp was radioactive. Extension agents grew wary of even mentioning it at public meetings. Farmers who asked about sun hemp sometimes got sideways glances from local law enforcement, who knew only that hemp meant trouble, regardless of the spelling. Official records from the 1970s and the 1980s show extension offices quietly removing sun hemp from recommended cover crop lists, not because of science, but because of a 4-letter word. The confusion ran deep. Some growers reported being warned off by neighbors. Others fielded questions from police about what exactly was growing out in those lush, 6-foot stands. The plant's reputation became a casualty of its name, erased from university pamphlets and farm supply catalogs. In a country where one word could turn a legume into a liability, sun hemp's greatest obstacle was not biology or economics, but a branding disaster that left it buried under decades of suspicion. In the world of soil pests, few enemies are as relentless as root knot nematodes. These microscopic worms invade the roots of crops and form galls that starve plants of water and nutrients. For decades, growers fought back with chemicals like methyl bromide, a potent soil fumigant that leaves the ground sterile and the air laced with toxins. In Florida's sandy fields, Dr. Ronald McSorley set out to test a different weapon, a living plant. His trials with Crotalaria jonesea, sun hemp, revealed a quiet but powerful defense. Instead of killing nematodes outright, the plant uses a biological trick. Sun hemp roots release compounds that signal nematode eggs to hatch. Expecting a feast, the larvae emerge and find themselves in a biological trap. The roots of sun hemp offer no food, no entry points, no soft tissue to invade. Deprived of sustenance, the young nematodes die before they can complete their life cycle. Field data from McSorley research show that after a single 60-day sun hemp crop, populations of root knot nematodes drop by 50 to 70%. In some trials, suppression rates topped 80% when the crop was incorporated at early bloom. These results rival those of chemical fumigants, but without the collateral damage to soil life. Vegetable growers in the Southeast have confirmed these effects, reporting healthier roots and better yields when sun hemp is used in rotation. The plant's role as a biological fumigant is now recognized in organic systems where chemical options are limited or banned. Sun hemp does not just feed the soil, it cleans it, making way for healthier crops and a safer environment. In the peak of a southern summer, when pastures turn brittle and brown, livestock farmers face a familiar problem. The grass stops growing, but the animals keep eating. Cool season staples like fescue go dormant in July and August, leaving a feed gap that drives up hay costs and stress. Sun hemp offers a different rhythm. While the heat wilts most forages, this crop surges, pushing up fresh leaves and tender stems just as the summer slump hits hardest. For goats and sheep, it is a feast of green when everything else has faded. Forage tests from university trials show sun hemp leaves consistently clocking in at 25 to 30% protein, rivaling top-quality alfalfa. That level of nutrition is rare in the dog days of summer, when most pastures drop below 10%. On a working farm in Georgia, a herd of goats rushes to graze a 3-foot stand, stripping leaves down to the stem. The animals seek out sun hemp first, even when other forages are available, a palatability proven in both field trials and daily chores. For the farmer, this means less reliance on purchased supplements and a chance to keep animals gaining weight through the hottest months. The timing is everything. Planting in late spring lines up the lushest growth with the leanest weeks, turning a problem season into an opportunity. In a year when feed bills can break the budget, a field of sun hemp becomes more than a backup plan. It is a safety net, and sometimes the difference between profit and loss. Timing is everything when it comes to grazing sun hemp. Extension veterinarians warn that the plant's safety window is narrow. Livestock can graze freely only until the first yellow flowers appear. The seeds that form soon after flowering contain pyrrolizidine alkaloids that can damage the liver if animals eat too many. The leaves and stems before flowering are safe and rich in protein, but once the plant shifts its energy into seed production, the risk rises sharply. That is why the grazing calendar is built around a strict deadline. Animals should be moved off the field by day 60, or as soon as blooms show. The mowing rule is just as strict. If the stand is not grazed or cut by the 3-foot mark, those tender stems quickly turn woody. Wait too long, just 2 weeks past the window, and what was once a lush pasture becomes a forest of bamboo-like stalks, inedible for livestock and tough enough to puncture tractor tires. Extension agents recommend a simple protocol: graze or MODU at 3 foot, then allow regrowth for a second pass. Miss the window, and the opportunity for both safe feed and easy management is lost. After a summer of explosive growth, the story of sun hemp doesn't end at harvest. What is left behind is a dense mat of stems and leaves, biomass with a high carbon to nitrogen ratio. Unlike clover or vetch, which break down in a matter of weeks, these fibrous stalks linger on the surface, forming a natural mulch armor. This layer shields the soil from pounding rain and scorching sun, slowing erosion and holding precious moisture where roots can reach it. In field trials, researchers have measured sun hemp mulch persisting for months, protecting bare ground through the most vulnerable parts of the year. As the stems decompose, they add organic matter at a rate that can reach up to 11 tons per acre, building soil structure season after season. But the benefits don't stop at the ground. When allowed to flower after grazing or mowing, sun hemp erupts into a sea of bright yellow blooms. These flowers draw in pollinators from miles around. Native bees, honeybees, and predatory wasps flock to the pollinator buffet. Entomologists tracking insect visitation have counted dozens of species feeding and nesting in the canopy. The result is a living bank of beneficial insects ready to move into nearby crops, where they help control pests and boost yields. Sun hemp's legacy lasts long after the last animal leaves the field. A tougher soil, a safer harvest, and a landscape humming with life. Fertilizer prices have tripled in just a few years, turning budgets upside down for farmers across the country. In the face of these costs, the old advice to just buy a bag of nitrogen no longer works. That is why a new generation of regenerative farmers is looking for alternatives that do not depend on global supply chains or volatile natural gas markets. Sun hemp delivers something those bags cannot: a season's worth of nitrogen fixed from the air for free. In a single summer, an acre of sun hemp can add 100 to 120 pounds of nitrogen to the soil, worth over $150 at today's prices, without a single pass from a fertilizer truck. On a working cattle operation in Mississippi, a regenerative grazier explains how the crop fits into daily management. After a heavy rain, tire tracks slice through the pasture. Where most cover crops would be flattened or killed, the sun hemp stands bounce back within days, leaves turning to the sun, stems straightening as if nothing happened. This resilience means the land stays productive, even in the busiest parts of the grazing rotation. Farmers can move herds, haul water, or drive equipment without worrying about destroying the stand. Each pass of the tractor tests the crop's toughness, but the results are clear. The field recovers, the growth continues, and the soil builds fertility. For producers squeezed by high costs and unpredictable weather, a crop that shrugs off traffic and delivers free nitrogen is more than a novelty. It is a practical tool for staying profitable in a changing world. While fertilizer costs soar and extreme weather punishes bare fields, a forgotten seed quietly outpaces both science and scarcity. Sun hemp's resurgence is not nostalgia, it is necessity, proven by fields yielding 100 pounds of free nitrogen per acre in just 2 months. The real question now is whether we will keep ignoring biology's fastest fix or finally let it grow. What would you plant if the future depended on speed?